should you build your own solution in-house or should you buy from a vendor?
There are both pros and cons in building it in-house as well as going for a solution provider.
So, do you think that e-invoicing compliance plays a crucial role in this build versus buy choice?
E-invoicing is not the same in all the countries. There are different mandates and different e-invoicing updates coming up at different times at different countries. Right. And another thing is putting your resources and your money in a development team as well as a tax team is very costly for businesses.
It seems like company A will be suffering from constant rework, sleepless night, and rising costs, right?
One of the main issues companies have is preparing a team to handle e-invoicing.
Alright, so before we wrap up, what's the hard truth businesses really need to hear when it comes to build versus buy? Hey everyone, welcome back to an episode of Compliance. I'm Darshini, and today we are diving into one of the biggest decisions companies face when it comes to e invoicing. So, should you build your own solution in house or should you buy from a vendor? To help us unpack this, I got Siddharth with me, our in house expert on everything related to e invoicing and regulatory frameworks. How are you, Siddharth?
Hey Rashmi, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. And I'm very excited to talk about this topic and have a good conversation with you.
Great, Siddharth. So it seems like with more and more countries rolling out e invoicing mandates, businesses are under pressure to stay compliant. So the big question over here that I'm wondering is do you build a system from scratch or do you buy one that's already built and ready to go?
That's a great question to start with, Dashmi. So there are both pros and cons in building it in-house as well as going for a solution provider. So a company has to go through both the pros and cons in each case before finalizing a particular solution or a decision of building the solution in-house.
Okay. So do you think that e-invoicing compliance plays a crucial role in this build versus buy choice?
Definitely. So, because e-invoicing plays a major role in going for a built-in solution or for a solution vendor, because e-invoicing is not the same in all the countries. There are different mandates and different e-invoicing updates coming up at different times at different countries. There are 80 plus countries going live with e-invoicing in the upcoming years. So, building or buying an e-invoicing solution, we need to consider all these things and e-invoicing mandates and government regulations before making a decision, right? And another thing is putting your resources and your money in a development team as well as a tax team is very costly for businesses. And there are other things which we need to consider regarding building a solution is few countries they mandate for accreditation, and there are many prerequisites required for this accreditation, like having a server in-house and having a server locally, and also having insurance and data protection requirements, and many other things which might be costly for a single business to handle for e-invoicing. So all this has to be considered before choosing either built-in solution or going for an pre-built solution.
Okay, Siddharth, what you said makes a lot of sense. So I was wondering whether the speed of implementation might impact whether a company builds or buys.
Yes. So that surely impacts the decision, because if a company wants to scale up immediately and wants to grow in different countries immediately, building a team for e-invoicing alone will cost them their core business. And this happens like, let's take an example of company A and company B. Say company A wants to scale in 2 to 3 countries immediately, and they want to go live with e-invoicing. If they have to build an in-house solution, they have to dedicate a separate dev team as well as a tax team to analyze those e-invoicing mandates and implement it as a solution. And this will eat away most of their core business works and other time. And as e-invoicing is not a one-time thing, they have to have a support team after building this, right, for all the countries, and they have to have training sessions for their staff and other things. So all these things you can easily export these complexities to a already pre-built vendor or solution who can take care of all these things and give you a complete support after go live as well. That will be a very easy and affordable solution for the company. Whereas, let's say company B, another company which has to do the same thing like scaling up for different countries. So if they adopt a pre-built vendor, that is pre-built solution, it will be very easy for them to scale in 2 to 3 countries immediately. So because the vendor already would be having APIs and other solutions for these countries with different mandates, and they'll have a dedicated support team and CSM for each and every country, it will be very easy for knowledge transfer, training, as well as post go live support, which is the main thing when it comes to e-invoicing.
So it seems like company A will be suffering from constant rework, sleepless night, and rising costs, right? And I think that it's not just the business that feels this pressure. What do you think it looks like inside the teams?
One of the main issues companies have is preparing a team to handle e-invoicing. So many of the developers who are already there in the business are from a different viewpoint. They will be involved in the core business or the core product which the company is making. So involving them with something new will make them hesitant to start with the process and will create delays in the process. They have to first understand the e-invoicing concept, and then they have to understand the tax part of it, and then they have to combine both these things to create a solution or implement the solution. And they have to test it in the sandbox or the production environments. They have to have different regulatory tests and checks, and for edge cases also they have to check their solution as well as the output. And this will take away a lot of their time and effort, and doing this repeatedly for each and every country they go for or expand to is a very tedious process. So this process puts huge pressure for the developer team or as well as the tax and finance teams in the company. The thing is, if the company is local for a particular country or have does businesses only in only one country, this will be very easy for them. One-time solution will be might one-time solution can work for them. But if the same company has to expand to different countries in the upcoming future, they cannot scale the solution which they have made in this country or in one country to other countries very easily. They have to do almost the same amount of rework for each country.
Hmm.
So this is the major stress or major things that teams get involved to, and they are not able to scale.
Makes a lot of sense. Earlier, you mentioned integrations. So, with so many companies running multiple ERPs, say SAP, Oracle, or regional ones, how does integration factor into build versus buy decision?
So the integration plays a major role to decide whether to build it in-house or to have a pre-built solution or to buy a pre-built solution. Why this is because few companies, major companies, they use different ERPs, different softwares for different countries, as well as in the same country also they might be using PO systems or ERPs hand in hand. So for B2C, they might be using a POS system. For B2B, they might be using an ERP. There are multiple cases. So even though if you think that inbuilt solution can be customized for these situations, it might be a wrong decision because you have to employ different experts for each and every software, as well as you have to have tax team in house to support those developers. Whereas if you have API related solutions like compliance, so we are giving a single API and SDKs which go hand in hand with any POS or ERP system, and can also help with easy auto mapping. So the major headache for developers is the auto mapping. With different ERPs and POS systems, the mapping of the data from the database to that of the APIs or the solution will be a major time taking process. So few vendors make this process easy, but they have external implementers or specialists for each and every ERP, which makes the cost even higher. But in case of compliance, we have developed a auto mapping solution called Gets, which easily maps the data from any ERP database or any POS database to the APIs or the solution. It is a simple one day process which can easily be done by any beginner developer also. So in this case, pre-built solution or easy solutions which are in the market will be a no-brainer choice.
Great. So, what do you think are the challenges that businesses face when they're trying to scale their e-invoicing approach? How does it affect companies that have built their own e-invoicing solution? And how does it affect the ones that bought it?
Yes. So if you see scaling the solution, the major thing is the different mandates and expanding into different countries. So for this, the developers and the tax team employed for the inbuilt solution have to first understand and study all these different countries' mandates and understand them. So even though the solution might be similar to different other countries, the 10% change needed has to be worked on, and the work taken for that will be as much as the rework. It will be similar to a rework rather than a simple updation or upgradation. So this process cannot be done from country to country and be implemented for the upcoming 80 plus countries. So in this situation, pre-built solution is much more easier, cost effective, and way more simpler than a inbuilt solution.
Okay. So now let's assume that the solution is live.
So as soon as you go live with the solution, first let's take the case of pre-built or vendor solution. So if you go with a vendor, they'll give you a complete hypercare after go live, and then they'll have continuous support. And even when there is errors or any bugs, they'll have a dedicated development team which clears those things within a few hours or few days, 1 or 2 days. So with this, you can minimize the penalties and also reduce the stress from your own tax teams or finance teams related to e-invoicing. So, because of this continued support and continued updation from the vendor side, this is one of the benefits of a vendors. And e-invoicing vendors, they also provide continuous support through dedicated CSM. Right? And when it comes to error handling and validations. Whatever the government sends back as an error or any mistakes, it comes in a very complex and hard to read message for the person using the ERP or POS. So this has to be converted to proper messaging and given to the proper teams as messages to rectify those mistakes. So this is also very complex if we go for an inbuilt solution. Whereas the vendors, they have already made easy messages and easy warnings and also given the solution of how to correct it. So for a single country, this might look easy, but for multiple countries and multiple regulations, it becomes very complex for a single team to manage all these things. So the complexity goes up when there is multiple countries involved and scaling to multiple countries is required. Right. So these are the main things that are the advantage while going for a pre-built solution or a vendor.
Great. So, from everything you have said so far, it is clear that buying is the better route. But how do businesses make sure they're choosing the right solution? What should they look for?
Yeah, there are few major things that companies have to look for before choosing a vendor or a solution from the market. So the first thing is their capability of scaling up to different countries and their implementation time. So even though they are in different countries and they are good at what they do, implementation times makes the major difference. Like if you are taking 3 to 4 months to implement, that is as equal to us building it in house. So building it in house also nowadays takes that much time. So if you are taking 4 months or 6 months to implement the solution, it is a waste of time. So instead, you have to go with solutions which can implement within few weeks or 1 month. So that will be very optimal solution, as well as we should also take into consideration implementation simplicity. That is how easy it is for the company or business to implement their solution. So the APIs has to be very simple. The logic has to be very simple, and the time taken also should be very less. So these are the first things to see. The next comes transparency and security. So the security of the data and the transparency, like how we are handling the data and what encryption and how we are storing the data for archival, should be clearly judged and evaluated before choosing a vendor. And then we have to also mainly see the support, how well they are supporting after go live and for all the updations and mandates given by the government. So most of the local solution, they give a one time solution with a very low updation rate, so they don't keep updating it as and when the government updates it, and they don't give support after go live. So their support may take long, or they don't have a very good support system or a dedicated team for support. So without that, they cannot scale, or they cannot reduce the tension that comes from the penalties or bugs or any other e-invoicing related issue. And this issue might cause big trouble in the businesses teams like finance and tax, which can be easily avoided with a good support. So these are the things that business need to consider before choosing a vendor.
That's such an important point because buying the right solution isn't just about the price tag, it's about the long term reliability. And if you're still unsure how to evaluate vendors or what to compare, we have actually put together a simple resource for you. You can download our free vendor evaluation checklist. It clearly breaks down exactly what to look for when choosing a vendor, how to assess the integration readiness, and how to avoid common pitfalls. It's a great starting point before you make any decision. Okay, getting back to the topic. So we have covered about the compliance, speed, integration, scalability, and even the long-term costs. It's clear that the build versus buy choice can really make or break how companies handle e-invoicing. Which brings me to the big question. How does compliance help businesses navigate all of this?
Okay, so when you see compliance, we have very easy solution with very simple APIs which can plug into any ERP or POS systems. So when it comes to compliance, we have made the process very simple and easy. So the first thing is we have made different SDK kits for different types of ERPs and POS systems, which is used to analyze the payload and send it to the compliance platform. And the next thing is we have done auto mapping using Gets, which has very much great impact on the reduction of implementation time. So Gets is nothing but a global standard which we try to adopt for each and every company so that they can easily expand globally for any country. So with this Get standard, you can align your data once, and then the data can be easily mapped to different countries, governments, and mandates and e-invoicing portals. So, and the auto mapping of data from the database to our APIs is also automated using AI. So the data can be easily mapped and verified, and then we can go live for any country, any upcoming mandated country. So with this process, we have reduced the effort required for a developer, as well as we have avoided a tax team of having a tax team in-house, because we ourselves have in-house tax team experts who analyze for different mandates and upcoming countries. And then we have also reduced the implementation time from months, like 3 to 4 months, to weeks. So a simple beginner developer can easily integrate our SDK and then integrate it to our APIs within few days. So this is the impact that we are bringing in the e-invoicing field.
So that's really great to hear. But I think our viewers might be wondering, does this really work in practice?
Yes, absolutely. So compliance has helped their customers go live with e-invoicing under 2 weeks, and we have also reduced the implementation time drastically by almost 60%. And the compliance efforts and the team efforts needed are also reduced by almost 70 to 80%. So our customers go live fast and are audit ready from day one, and have an excellent support system post go live, and also have a dedicated CSM and a hypercare system after go live.
All right, so before we wrap up, what's the hard truth businesses really need to hear when it comes to build versus buy?
So the hard truth is, if a localized company needs a solution for a particular country alone, and they have the resources for a development team as well as a tax team, they can go for inbuilt solution. And only if they need very customized solution, they can go for inbuilt solution. Or else going for a pre-built solution with a reputed vendor is always a cost-effective and time-effective solution, and they can easily scale their business also to multiple countries. So multiple big companies and conglomerates can easily go for the vendor for scaling up to different countries and for the support as well. So that is one of the things to consider. And the hard truth is nothing but companies who want to build their own solution, they don't see as far as going live and in the future upcoming 10 years. They don't see the big picture. They just see the solution and whether the work is done. So they don't see what comes after this and what processes are required and the training and other stuff. They don't see it beforehand.
But if building feels like control, why don't teams build their own invoice solution?
Yes, so initially building a solution might seem like more control and more access over customization and regulatory complaints as well. But the main part comes after the e-invoicing solution is developed. The constant mandate updates and the constant observation needed and the constant team and support needed to deal with the e-invoicing and related solution or the product is what comes after the creation of solution. So the team and the resources needed for that cost way more than a solution bought outside. So that balance has to be kept in order to focus on the core business of the companies.
So, finally, what's the real takeaway for a business that is listening right now, especially one that is still debating the build versus buy decision?
Yes, so the main takeaway is that any business have to focus on their own core activities and their core business. Either the tax team, developer team, or their IT teams should focus on their problems to give better solution for their customers rather than breaking their head or involving themselves into a solution for e-invoicing, which is not their core competency. So for any company, only if they have very specific needs and very complex needs, which only their developers or their team can cater to, can go with an inbuilt solution. Whereas if they want a generic solution and scalable solution for different countries and want a ongoing support team at a reasonable cost, going for a vendor or a pre-built solution is always no brainer for any company.
So, to summarize everything, end of the day, the trade off is very clear. Building in house means high manpower demands, ongoing maintenance, constant compliance risk. But buying a solution, on the other hand, gives you faster go live, predictable costs, and vendor support to keep you ahead. So it's clear that companies that act early won't just stay compliant, they'll save millions by avoiding rework, invoice rejections, and last minute scrambles. At Compliance, we make this simple with one API that keeps you globally compliant without overloading your developers or finance teams. So if you found this episode useful, subscribe and share it with anyone that is still weighing the build versus buy decision.